Hello guys, in this tutorial I'm going to go over some of the basic modeling techniques. Let's start with the simplest one, move. You can move things left and right, up and down, or forward and backward, and those three axes Maya gives you is aligned with the axis of the world. Okay, now consider this. For example, this cube is actually a face of a robot. Now I tilted this face up by rotating it, and I want to move it, but instead of those three axes Maya gives me, I actually want to move it forward. Okay, move it to the forward direction of the face. Now I can't do that by dragging those. So Maya actually gives you all sorts of different axes to use. If you're holding down W button and left mouse button, you can change that from world to object. Now notice that now the axis tilted in a perfect way that I can now drag the x-axis to move the face forward. Okay, good. Now let's see, okay, I have a robot face, but I want a nose on the face. Let me just grab this face and extrude it out, and then drag it out and maybe rotate it this way. Okay, and then I think, you know what, I want to move this the front face of this nose forward, but on the direction, the forward direction of this face. If I do that, I can, because now my axis is aligned with the object. I can then change this by holding down W and left mouse button, and I can change that to component. Okay, if that's component, now you see the axis is aligned with the component we're selecting, in this case this face. Now I can move it this way or down or up. If I rotate it more, I can still move it to its forward direction. Looks like Pinocchio now. Let's go back. Okay, so that's the basic axis I want to go over. There are more, but I'm not going to go over everything. You can go to axis. There are all different kind of stuff, like going to the axis of its parent. Okay, but for now, let's focus on only those three: word, object, and component. Very useful. Okay. Now let's talk about symmetrical editing. If you're holding down W button again and holding down left mouse button, there is symmetry on the top. Okay, let's change the symmetry to toggle it on. When symmetry is on, Maya gives you a heads up on which direction where the symmetry will be mirrored. In this case, it's object X. Now this object X is this direction. So if we grab something, it will grab the other side, and if you do anything here, the other side will also be changed. Okay, anything you do will be changed. Now if you want to change to a different axis, it's the same shortcut, holding down W and the left mouse button. Symmetry, let's now change that to, maybe this time we can go for Z direction. Okay, if Z direction is initialized, when I grab this side, the other side will be selected, and then I can do anything I want with it, bevel or anything. Okay, cool. Let me add one more edge loop in the middle here. Okay. Now let's turn off symmetry. Maybe sometimes I dragged the other side away like this, but I still want to manipulate those two parts together. I can use another symmetry way, which is topology. You have to do that by selecting the face in the middle, the edge in the middle. That's why I create this middle edge. You have to select one of the edges on the middle, okay, and then holding down W and left mouse button, go to symmetry, and there is the topology. Okay, when that is on, even they're not symmetrical on the location wise, but they're symmetrical based on that middle line I selected, topology wise, then I can manipulate those in a symmetrical way too. Okay, so that's symmetry. Let me go back. Now sometimes when you're moving things or rotating things, you want to move them or rotate them in a fixed amount. To do that, you can holding down the J button on the keyboard and rotate. Let's see, now when I rotate the cube, it will snap every 15 degree. Okay, so I can get a 90-degree rotation very easily. See that? Rotate X is 90. Not sure why Z have to. Okay, the same thing applied to move. If I move something, holding down J button, it will move 1 unit at a time. Okay, very handy shortcut. Scale does the same thing, so I'm not gonna go over that. Let's now move on to soft selection. For example, I have a polyplane here, and then I want to grab something and move it up, but I want to move not only this vertex but the surrounding area, and also in a soft manner. It's like you're grabbing a piece of sheet and then you grab it up. The surrounding area also goes up, but not that much, right? In this case, I need to use soft selection. To toggle soft selection, just press B button on the keyboard, and you see now there not only this vertex gets selected, but the surrounding area turns yellow. Okay. Now if you're holding down B button and then drag your left mouse button, okay, let's go a little bit further, holding down B and then drag. Now you see you're actually dragging a fall off range. Now if you move something, move it like this, you see now you're dragging not only that vertex but the surrounding area too. Now how much you're affecting the surrounding area will be based on the radius of this circle. If you make a very small radius, it's not going to change anything. If you make it really big, it can change a lot of things. So in other case, holding down B and left mouse button drag, that's how you change the fall off of your soft selection. Okay, that's soft selection. Okay, as that consists of the basic moving tools. Let's move on to some commands. Okay, let me delete it, and then let's start over by nothing. First, creating stuff. To create a polygon, all you have to do is deselect everything you have selected. With nothing selected, you can holding down Shift and right mouse button, and then this gives you a marking menu on creating stuff like polycube, plane, and everything you can think of. Those things are identical with the things in the create polygon primitives. Right, cylinder here, and plane, that is the plane. Okay, so I never go into that menu to do that. All I have to do is hold down Shift and right mouse button, cube or cylinder or plane or sphere, like that. Okay, you can go really quick, so you don't have to wait for things to pop up. Now remember this shortcut, Shift and right mouse button. It's very useful. Let's create a cube. And then with this cube selected, let's use the same shortcut, Shift and right mouse button. Now you see Maya gives you not those creation command anymore. It gives you the command for editing this cube, like InsertEdgeloop tool. Okay, let's press B again to toggle the soft selection. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. If you press B once, that's how you toggle on and off the sub-selection. If you're holding down B and drag, oops. Holding down B and drag, that's how you change the fall off. Okay, press B to toggle. Okay, let's go back to our topic. So with the box selected, you use the Shift and right mouse button. That's how you find those commands for the box, for this polygon model. That means depending on the things you're selecting, Maya gives you different command. Like if nothing is selected, Shift and right mouse button gives you creation. If you have something, then it gives you the command for that thing. Not only Maya gives you different things when you have something selected or not, it also gives you different command if you're selecting different things. For example, let's select this face, and then let's do a Shift and right mouse button that gives you the command for the face, like bevel this face, or poke face, or extrude face. Okay, let's select that edge. Let's try that. Extrude edge. Okay, and then you have bevel edge, and you have merge collapse the edge and merge it to center. Okay, so in other words, this shortcut, Shift and right mouse button, will be your best friend. Every time when you want to edit something or creating anything, this is the shortcut you want to go, and it consists of almost all the command you ever needed. Okay, remember this. Now let's go over some basic command. First of all, add Edgeloop, Shift and right mouse button, insert Edgeloop. Okay, if you drag on a edge, it will create a loop perpendicular to this edge. Okay, now I create a lot of loops. If I think, okay, there are too many loops and I really just want a cube, so I don't need those loops. Most of you guys will be doing the first time is press the delete button on the keyboard, but that's really dangerous because that only delete the edges but not those vertex. And now you see those vertex are floating around, they're not doing anything. Okay, and that gives you all sorts of endguns. So don't do that. The right way to delete a edge will be holding down Shift and right mouse button, the same shortcut, Shift and right mouse button, delete edge. Okay, that cleans up all the vertex for you. Another thing you can do is holding down Control and delete, that does the same thing. Okay, but it can be dangerous too sometimes. Control and delete kind of like destroys, you know, all the connections. So I prefer to use Shift and right mouse button, delete Edgeloop. Okay, enough of that. Let's move on to some detail of InsertEdgeloop 2. In the default settings, you can click and drag there to create edge loops. But when you're in this tool, you can holding down Control and Shift together and right mouse button, that bring up the settings of this tool. Now you can go, for example, I can create multiple edge loops, and I can create 2 of them, and then when I click on that edge, it actually creates 2 edge loops for me. Okay, I can change that to 4, or you can go there and then go back to absolute offset, and you can go back to the click and slide way. Now those settings can also be reached by double click on the 2, or go to, I think it's underneath modeling, match to InsertEdgeloop. Okay, go to the settings, and then that's multi edge loops, and you can change that to multiple ones if you want to have like a lot of edge loops there. Okay, so that's add edge loop. One more thing I want to talk about add edge loop is its convenient way to add curvature for you. For example, I have this shape, And then I want to add a edge loop here. But in the default settings, this edge loop kind of like really tighten its curve up, so it becomes not that smooth anymore. So instead of doing it this way, when you're using the insert edge loop tool, holding down shift and click and drag on the edge, that can actually try to match the curvature for you. Okay, a very useful technique. So that's insert edge loop. Now let's go to MonicaTo. Okay, MonicaTo allows you to click and drag on any edge and then create vertex like this. So click and drag, click and drag, click and drag, press enter to finish. That will cut the geometry in based on the lines you have dragged. Okay, you can go from any edge and go to any area on the face and go to another edge, or go to all sorts of directions and press enter to create a line there. So it's pretty free to create any kind of shape. Let's delete all the lines. If you use MonicaTo and holding down Control, you can actually perform the insert edge loop too. Okay, so they have overlapping functionalities. When you are holding down Control, you can also holding down the middle mouse button. That will actually snap a edge loop in the middle between this line. Okay, in between this line, very handy. Again, go to MonicaTo and then Control and middle mouse button. That allows you to do that. If you want to go to a certain percentage, Control and Shift allows you to go from 20%, 10%, 20, 30, 40, and then 50%. Okay, so that's another way you can add the edge loop with some precision. Okay, that's MonicaTo. Sculpt tool is out of our scope for now. Let's don't do that. And target weld too. Okay, grab one thing and then go to the next thing. That will actually weld the first thing to the next thing. You cannot do that on the edge, I suppose, but you can do that on vertex. So it's useful sometimes. And then append to polygon tool. Append to polygon tool will allow you to gap in between two objects. For example, I have this hole open and I want to fill it. Now what I can do is use append polygon tool. Again, it's the same shortcut, shift and right mouse button, append polygon tool, go from this edge to the other edge and then press enter. Okay, let's do that again. Append polygon tool, click on the first edge and then click on the next edge, and it will fill in a face between those two edges. Okay, that's append polygon tool. Soften harden edge. Soften edge will try to soften the normal. If you do that, then it's kind of like trying to make the hard edge there disappear. Mostly we do that on low poly models. You can go toggle that, soften and harden to toggle that. Okay, soften, harden edge, soften and harden. You can also grab one edge and then only make that one soft. Okay, see, only that one is soft, those are not. It really doesn't matter to our rendering process if we use smooth preview, but if you want to create low polys and you want those edges to be smooth, you can grab those edges and then holding down shift and right mouse button, soften harden edge to make it soft. Okay, so that's that. You can toggle the soft edge display. That will make the softened edge kind of like becoming a dash line. So all kind of dashes a line consists of all dashes, things like that, to indicate that that line is actually a soft edge. Okay, that's insert edge. That's soft and hardened edge. Now extrude is very simple. It actually exists on all elements. Edge will be extrude edge, face will be extrude face, and then the vertex will be extrude vertex, like that. Okay. Offset edge loop 2 will allow you to click and drag on the edge to create two edges around that edge we're dragging from. I don't use that often, so I don't think it's really useful. Smooth and those kind of things, let's talk about them later. Okay. Now extrusion is very simple. I think that's the first thing you learn, so I don't think I need to go over that. Extrude face. But there are some very simple things you can do with it, like you can change the values here to give it specific numbers. You can have more divisions, and one important settings here will be the keep face together. Let's say I want to extrude those three out, but if I do the normal extrusion and they all goes out, but I want them to go on their own direction without connecting here in the middle. In that case, what I need to do is extrude, but then check the face, keep face together to off. Now if I extrude them out, I can extrude them out without connecting them. Okay, so that's a very important technique. A last thing about extrusion is you can extrude something along a curve. Let's go to set view and then create CV curve 2. Let's create a curve. Now if you grab the face and then the curve and do the same extrude command, it will extrude from the face to the end of the curve. If you have more divisions, then Maya will make it fitting with the curve as much as it can. Okay, like this. Let's delete that curve. So extrusion. Let's say I have this thing. Let me duplicate it and then move it down. Maybe flip it, but scale it to the other direction. I can type in -1 on the scale Y to flip it. Now I want to combine them together and then connect them here. Then I need to use bridge. If you want to manipulate components on two objects, Maya will not allow you to do that. You have to combine them together. So first I need to holding down shift and right mouse button, go to combine. Okay, and you can see that there is a separate on top of it to separate those two if you wanted to go back. So combine and separate. Now let's grab that one and that one. Let's holding down shift and right mouse button again. Let's go find bridge. Okay, that will bridge those faces. I can have more divisions. I can change the curve type to bend, and Maya will try to give you a curvature there. Okay, so that's bridge. Oh, let's go back one more step. So one more thing I forgot to mention is that the bridge have a offset. If you use the offset, you can actually use this line to bridge to that line, so they're not. You don't have to. Or sometimes if you find that bridge is not selecting the right edge to bridge, you can change the bridge offset to change them. Normally Maya will give you a decent result. Okay. So that's bridge. And then let's talk about Boolean. Boolean is something I don't really use too much, but some people like to use it. What Boolean does is you can grab a model and then another model. You can use like Boolean union to combine them together, or you can use a Boolean different to subtract one thing from another. or you can use Boolean intersections to only have the part they're intersecting with each other. The problem with Boolean is if you do Boolean, and then you will end up like a very bad topology, extreme n-gons, weird triangles. So I'd rather to do that myself. Okay. But one useful thing with Boolean is, or I often use with Boolean is, I can cut holes by doing this. First, use MonicaTo. Let's add 2 lines in the middle. Okay. Now let's create a polycylinder here, and let's make it smaller and drag it up. And I need 8 segments there. Okay, 8. Now grab the cylinder, and then the geometry. Let's do a Boolean and then difference. Oops. I need to select that and that. So select the model you want to cut a hole, and then select the hole you want to cut. Let's do a Boolean difference. That will actually cut the hole for me. And I need to clean those n-gon up by use MonicaTo to connect, to divide this n-gon to 2 quads. Now I have our quads here, and I have a hole in the middle. Okay, that's pretty much the time I use Boolean. Or sometimes I have two simple shapes that I just need them to be together. I need to do that too. But the thing is, you have to keep in mind that you have to fix the topology later when you're using Boolean. Okay, that's about Boolean. Okay, and then there's really not that much thing I use. Maybe this one more thing I think we could be using is fill hole. Example, you have this hole here, and you just want to fill it. You can use Shift and right mouse button. There is fill hole. Okay, and I can delete that hole, of course. Okay, fill that one. Okay, now I have this hole here. I want to close it. I can use fill hole, but I can also use it, scrub all the vertex, all the lines by double click one of these line on the hole, and I can select all the lines on the hole, and then I can do an extrusion, right? After the extrusion, I can then holding down Shift and right mouse button, go merge collapse edge, merge edge to center. Now you can fill the hole like this. That actually is collapsing things you're selecting. For example, if I grab all the vertex and then holding down Shift and right mouse button, go up again, that collapse every vertex into one. If I grab all the edges here, I can do the same command, and that will collapse all the edges into one. Okay, you don't have to wait for this to pop up. You can just go up and it will do that for you. Okay. Now let's talk about how to mirror an object. For example, I did this object already, I finished it, everything's fine, but I want another version of it mirror to the other side. The first thing I want to do is I want to hold it down D and snap the pivot to here. All you have to do is holding down D and click on that face. That will move the pivot there. And then let's holding down X to snap the object to the center of the word. Now before you mirror it, if you want it to be connected in the middle, you need to select the face there and there. You want to cut them open. Okay, now to do the mirror. Holding down Shift and right mouse button, let's mirror. Let's go do that. And then Maya will try to mirror it along the default settings. We have axis position object, that's true, but I want to mirror it on the positive Z direction instead of negative, so change that to positive. You want to check merge borders, but sometimes you need to make the threshold real small to make Maya only merge the ones in the middle. Okay, so this value, if you found something more merged, like For example, I have a cube here, and then I just want to mirror it to the other side. You can hold it down D and then snap the pivot to one of the edge, and then holding down X to snap it to the middle. Let's do a mirror again. Also use Z positive. Okay, if the merge threshold is too high, change that to 100 or something. That will actually merge any vertex that are closer than 100. So if you find those things happen, change the merge threshold to a fairly small value, and you should be able to go. Okay. One more thing you always want to check when you do the mirror, if you have UVs, flip UV on. That will flip the UV for you. Otherwise, you have to flip it manually. Okay, we haven't go over UV, so you don't have to worry about that yet. Okay, so that's mirroring. And then one more thing I think is worth mentioning is, for example, I want to create a panel here on this face. Instead of creating a new model, I can actually grab those faces here that I want to create. A panel here. I can then holding down Shift and right mouse button. There is a extract faces that will actually extract those faces out to separate the model into different models. Okay. Or if I want to keep those faces there, I can use the duplicate face. It's right underneath extract face, duplicate face. That duplicate those faces and create new models for you, but maintains the original geometry. So this one does not change, but you have two more faces to work with. Now I can extrude those faces and then create some panel. Okay, like that. And you see it turns out to be black. That's because their normal is reversed. To reverse the normal, you can go to Modeling, Match Display, and Reverse. The shortcut for this will be you have to go to Face Mode and grab one of the face, Shift and right mouse button, Face Normal, reverse the propagate. That reverse the entire portion of the geometry, entire consistent portion of this geometry. Okay. So that's that. One more thing you guys, I think you guys need to keep doing is delay history. When you are modeling something like extrusion and do all kinds of stuff, you end up with a lot of command here. If you did a bevel here or something, you end up with a lot of command list in the input. And you can holding down Alt, Shift, and D3 buttons together to delete the history. If you don't want part of it, like I don't like this extrude I did, you can grab it and go to edit and then delete node. That will destroy the extrusion. Let's try that again. Okay, now that extrusion disappears, and the bevel you did later will still be there. Okay, it's a very convenient way to manipulate your input. Let's delete history, or let me just go back again. Alt Shift D to delete history, very useful. Now let's talk about maybe the last thing I want to go over, which is the selection change. For example, I want to grab all the faces here. It's really hard to go one by one, especially there are so many lines in here. I have only 8, but let's say there are 50, then it's too hard to select them out, right? What you can do is grab that vertex in the middle and then holding down Control and right mouse button. Now you can go to the selection change menu. First you can do is you can grow selection to grow your selection, and then you can shrink the selection like that. Now I select everything there by using a grow selection. If I want to select all the faces there, I can also use 2 face and 2 face, or I can 2 edge, or 2 UV, 2 UV on the other side. Okay, again holding down Control and right mouse button to do that. Okay, so I think that's the basic, useful tips I think I can give you guys to make your modeling process easier. I forgot to mention Babel, but I believe you guys know Babel, so I don't need to go over that. And I guess that is it. So I hope you guys are enjoying modeling, because when you get used to it, it's probably gonna be more like painting. And when you're getting used to modeling, you don't have to think like how to do certain stuff. You just need to go, because you have enough experience on how to do stuff now later on. And then modeling will be the most artistic part of the 3D creation. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoy modeling so far, and I will see you next class. Okay.